Vidify Voice Call for Tuesday night, the 22nd of October. It is the wellness team call. We're pleased and thrilled to be joined by Dr. Jeremy Thornton, who comes to us from the great state of Missouri. He's going to show us tonight. Everybody get that reference? It's called the Show Me State. Okay, I'll let Jeremy pick up on all of the things that I'm dropping down, but we are sure to have a great presentation tonight. We're thrilled to be joined by Dr. Jeremy. We kind of share this every other week or every other presentation. Dr. Jeremy does one call, then we have a couple of weeks to catch our breath and try to learn all that info. And then Dr. Fernandez does a call. And so we go back and forth with that. We're all thrilled to have this start up. We're glad you're with us. So while you're here, make sure you get your notes ready. But I do want to share something that will give you a little bit of help as we go forward. I'm going to drop this in here right now. This is the address that you can email your product questions to. It is wellnessteam@vidify.co. Yes, there is no M at the end of our email address, and we beg your forgiveness with that. That's something out of our control for right now, but that is where you go if you have questions about product, about ingredients, about formulations, about interaction with any other supplements or things like that. They're great. Dr. Thornton is a member of that wellness team, along with Dr. Angel Gabet, who is the director, and Dr. Cesar Fernandez, who is also a contributor from his native Honduras. But we have great English representation there. So if you have questions, we won't be able to get to questions and answers during this part. We want these questions to come through the Vidify email address. So again, wellnessteam@vidify.co. But let me give a quick introduction of what I know of Dr. Thornton. It's literally been 12 months. I think I officially joined in October of 2023 and was introduced to Dr. Thornton with some of these same calls, some emails, some WhatsApp, some exchanges, and it's been awesome. He is someone who not only knows all the information, we've all had these instructors and professors and teachers in school who know all the information, but they don't know how to make it understandable by a common person. And I'm as common as they come. Dr. Thornton has a way of presenting the information with humor, with personality, with charm, and then it doesn't make me feel like a dummy. I feel like a dummy for not knowing everything he knows, but he doesn't make me feel like a dummy because he gives me information that I can understand and then that I can turn around and repeat. So whenever my wife has a product question, I learn about it on these calls and I can give her my answers, and I sound intelligent as well. So Dr. Jeremy, good evening. Welcome. How are you? Fire it up. Give us, if you don't mind, give us your quick background. I know you have great educational background, great professional background, but give us a quick intro, the 30-second elevator pitch for who is Dr. Jeremy Thornton.
Sure. Welcome, guys. I'm excited to be here. My name is Dr. Jeremy Thornton. I'm from Southwest Missouri. Been here all of my life. I am a chiropractic physician, board certified internist, board certified clinical nutritionist, and I work in the area of functional medicine. So if you don't know what that is, we primarily work at helping people figure out the root causes of their health situations. And we approach it that way, right? Rather than a symptom approach, which would be our standard allopathic approach. We working on root causes, looking at lifestyle, looking at nutrition, and helping people get their health back. And so that's where I come from. And so I'm very familiar with the curcumin conversation. And, I was approached with this technology, Dave, about a little over 3 years ago now. And honestly, I wasn't terribly excited about a new curcumin supplement, right? It's something I've used I've been in practice over 26 years now. I've used all of those years, different versions, probably dozens of different forms of turmeric and curcumin. And so I thought I'd seen, heard, tried it all, right? And I'm excited that I am thankful that I took a little closer look. And here we are, right? 3 years later, and I can't shut up about it. So we're going to talk tonight about focusing on gut health. And I believe it's probably the most important topic we could talk about because if we don't have a healthy gut, nothing else matters, right? We're not going to have health in the rest of our body if we don't get the gut right. And so probably every talk that you've seen that I've done, I've probably alluded to at some point in time on that. No matter we've talked about cardiovascular disease, right? We've talked about autoimmune disease. We've talked about blood sugar disorders. I've talked about gut, and that's because it's just that important. And so we're going to talk about that more specifically tonight. A month ago, we focused on the unsung hero in the Vidify lineup, which was Symbiofy. We talked about the benefits of it with gut health. Today, we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about gut health, but we're going to focus on curcumin. And we'll get started here. Let me see if I can show my slides. Would love to know in the chat where you're tuning in from and if you've noticed any gut health benefits from the Vitify products. Would love to hear that in the chat as well. Let's see here. Let me make sure we get this part right. Can we see slides? Awesome. We're going to be talking quite a bit about leaky gut syndrome here, but we need to talk about this first. Disclaimer, right? We have to cover that. The following information is not intended to replace a professional medical recommendation. It's only for informational and educational purposes based on preventative medicine. If you have any of the following symptoms, you should see a licensed healthcare professional for the diagnosis and treatment of that medical condition. So we got that out of the way. We're going to talk briefly about the gut, and we talked some of this before. You've probably even recognized some of these slides. Let me move your beautiful faces a little bit out of my screen there. Perfect. So we talked a month ago, and we shared the incredible fact that the human body is made up of approximately 70 trillion cells in your whole body, okay? About 30 trillion of those are human, and about 40 trillion are microbial. And so by that measure, we're only about 43% human. So the gut obviously is a big deal. And if you look at the human microbiota, and we have more microbial cells than we do human cells, that's pretty startling. So the gut microbiota, that term refers to the community of living microorganisms residing in your intestines, right? Those good guys that we often hear called probiotics. So the gut microbiota, we talked about the human microbiota has 40 trillion bacteria living in the gut, producing metabolites, and all of those metabolites have health effects. 70 to 80% of our immune system is concentrated in the intestines. That's huge, right? 70 to 80% of our immune system cells are concentrated in the gut. 100 million neurons are located throughout the gut that produce various neurotransmitters that regulate mood and satiety. Did you know that 95% of the body's total serotonin is found in the gut? 95%. That is huge. But are we focusing when we're talking about things like, for example, mental health? Do we, from a medical standpoint, are we talking generally treating the gut? Do we do that? No, we don't, right? We're usually doing things to try to influence neurotransmitters in a positive direction, but we're not thinking about the gut. And are we going to have success long-term with addressing mood, energy, mental health, anxiety, depression, if we have poor gut health, right? We're probably going to be spinning our wheels if we don't take the gut seriously. So also up to 50% of the dopamine in our body is found in the intestines. And our gut also makes an important neurotransmitter called GABA. And so when you hear the term gut microbiome, that's formed by all the microorganisms, their genes, and their metabolites, the things that they make, okay? So there's some 9.9 million microbial genes that interact with your body and that have been identified in the human fecal microbiome. So 9.9 million microbial genes. So just approximately 20 years ago, they mapped the human genome, okay? Guess how many million genes that the human body has? Right? The microbial genes, 9.9 million. That's not ours, right? How many does the human body have? Only about 25,000 genes in the whole body. We're made up only 25,000 genes, but our microbial genes over 9.9 million. That's huge. So the our gut in the microbiome. It makes vitamins, including B12 and vitamin K and folate. It defends against harmful microorganisms. It teaches and builds our immune system to recognize, friend from foe, produces important molecules, those factors that we talked about. And it influences even the calories that we're able to take from our food. So when we talk about neurotransmitters, of course, a lot of people think about the gut-brain axis, which of course is very important. It's probably one of the more well-known axes in the body. And if we have an unhealthy gut, we're not going to have a healthy brain, right? They oftentimes call the gut the second brain, and that is because of the major impact the gut has on the brain, many different areas, including inflammation, including toxicity, including the neurotransmitters that we alluded to earlier. But what other kind of systems? We've heard about the gut brain, and that can be involved up here. You can see in anxiety and depression and other mood disorders. We also have the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal gut axis. So that has to do with our brain communicating with our gut, communicating with our adrenal glands, and that can impact things like thyroid health, ovary health, testicle health, and the hormones that they produce, right? We have the immune gut axis. That's, of course, going to be impacting not only our immune system to fight off things we want it to fight off, but can also be involved in things like autoimmune disease in the body. We have a heart gut axis. The gut can actually impact heart disease, blood pressure, atherosclerosis. One of the interesting things that they've found when they've done biopsies on people that have had plaquing in their arteries. Okay. And then they've looked at what's inside that plaque that's built up in these arteries that maybe caused maybe a heart attack or maybe caused a stroke. And inside that plaquing, they've detected bacteria, common bacteria, unfriendly bacteria that are found, we thought, only in the gut. So this harmful bacteria we thought was only down here in the gut, they found inside the plaquing, that's inside the heart, for example, or inside the brain in the plaque that's built up. So it just shows you how impactful the gut is on things we would never even consider. We have a skin gut axis. This can impact all kinds of skin disorders, acne, eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, other conditions. We still need to run some tests, Mr. Glavner, but we think you may have leaky gut syndrome. And so I'm trying here, guys. There's not a lot of cartoons or funny things about the gut, but I'm working on it. And so when we talk about leaky gut, these are some of the many things that create this condition called leaky gut. And as the more we study it, the more we realize that it's far-reaching impacts on human health and how it's connected to so many different other health conditions. So your history can create leaky gut, things like chronic antibiotic use or NSAID use, mercury in those fillings, traumatic brain injuries, chemoradiation treatments, having a cesarean birth, gut dysbiosis. We talked about that last time. Yeast, hormone imbalance, chronic inflammation, nutrient deficiencies. Those in your history could create a situation of leaky gut. Our diet. Okay, we hear a lot about gluten, right? And gliadin that's inside gluten, nightshades, sugar, inflammatory oils and seed oils, right? Fake oils, fake fats, trans fats. And then we have environmental, right? We're surrounded in an environmental chemical soup, right? In our air, in our water, in our products, alcohol, chronic stress, and liver stress. Those are some things that can lead to leaky gut. So symptoms of leaky gut could be food sensitivities, the whole gamut of GI symptoms, weight gain, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, anxiety or depression, skin issues, asthma, seasonal allergies, hormone imbalances, autoimmune diseases can all stem from leaky gut. Let's see here. One of the major things as far as harmful organisms that can get out of balance, one of those is called candida. And I think this is an important one to point out just because it is so common to have an overgrowth or an imbalance in candida. Would love to know in the chat, has anybody dealt with candida? And if you haven't, you probably have, but didn't know it, right? Okay. So the causes of candida are widespread. Again, antibiotic use and alcohol and chronic stress, fluoride and chlorine in the drinking water, can be sexually transmitted. Excessive consumption of sweets, especially sucrose and fructose and processed foods and refined carbohydrates. Loss of good bacteria in the gut, right? That usually tend to keep things under control and keep the candida in check. But if those get harmed and those get decreased, of course, the candida will be opportunistic in flourishing in those situations. So use of antacids and corticosteroids and hormone replacement therapy and contraceptions, toxic mercury fillings, cigarette smoke. Those are common candida causes. Of course, a lot of these are going to overlap. So candida symptoms can be skin and nail infections, digestive issues. Again, the whole gamut of digestive issues. It's going to impact the brain, brain fog, poor memory, lack of focus, ADD, ADHD, irritability, mood swings, anxiety and depression, sugar cravings, carbohydrate cravings, fatigue can be connected to autoimmune diseases, skin issues, again, vaginal infections, and even seasonal allergies can be driven by candida overgrowth. So we have the Pillsbury Doughboy being prescribed Monistat. The doctor says it happens. So, okay, I'm trying again to, there's not a lot of funny stuff out there about yeast, but I'm giving it a shot there. So see, these are some of the, let me move things around here just a little bit. Some of the testing options that are there for candida testing. You can do, I'm going to show you a little fun test to do at home, a spit test. They can do blood testing to look for antibodies to candida. Organic acids can be detected in urine. There can be stool analysis. They can do, actually, they're able to now do DNA testing in the stool to detect the DNA of those harmful organisms. So I encourage you guys to try this out. It's kind of fun. It's kind of gross, but that's all right. You can take a glass of water and you just put a little bit of spit, just spit right in the top of that glass of water. Use a clear glass so that you can see in there. Candida, if it's healthy, non-candida, it should just float right there on the top. Okay. If you have strings that come down here off of your spit, kind of like this, it kind of looks like a maybe like an octopus right here with these little stringy things hanging down. This could be a sign of candida. If it just immediately sinks to the bottom, that's a sign of candida. Or if it kind of disperses and kind of floats around in the middle of the glass, those can be signs of candida. Now, it's not perfect science, but I've seen it more often than not be actually correct. Some physical signs, thrush. And it doesn't have to be this extreme, right? We use the extreme visuals, right? But if you have a coating every single morning on your tongue, even if it's just a mild coating, that is a common sign of candida overgrowth. Thickening of the nails. Most commonly, this happens on the feet. They call fungal toenails, really thickened nails, a lot of times discolored from the other nails. Again, that can be a sign of yeast or fungal overgrowth. It can also be just a sign of poor circulation, because if we have poor circulation, that yeast, that fungus can grow more effectively without good blood supply. Low thyroid can also do that. But the candida diet, if we want to get rid of that candida, we've got to avoid foods that feed it, right? That's going to be other funguses and sugar. Yeast loves sugar, right? Dairy products and junk food and gluten and starchy foods and high sugar fruit and alcohol. Avoiding those, because if we're running to get rid of candida, we don't want to feed it things that will encourage it to grow, right? Some very popular and effective anti-candida herbs, things like Oregon grapefruit seed extract is one of my favorites, as well as oregano, ginger, turmeric, olive leaf. These are all good, healthy, natural ways to get rid of candida overgrowth. Now, let's get back to leaky gut. We had to take a little bit of a side to talk about candida, but that is commonly a part of leaky gut. So this is a good visual of leaky gut. So if you look here, this is what the intestinal cells should look like. So this is a cross section, right? This is where our food should travel, right through here. These are our intestinal epithelial cells, the cells that line our intestine. These here are called, these little villi right here, these little projections are how we absorb our nutrients. Between these cells, we have what we call a tight junction. So these are right up close to each other. Now we get stress on our gut on all those different things that we talked about, medications and stress and infections and toxicities, gluten, different things can create some, back up here, create some irritation on this intestinal lining, right? And when these intestinal cells become inflamed and irritated, it can cause them to release a protein called zonulin. You've probably heard me talk about this before. Increased zonulin levels relax these tight junctions, okay? Now these junctions are not so tight anymore, as you can obviously see. These little villi get chewed up. We can't absorb things as easily anymore. We end up with some nutritional deficiencies. And now things that shouldn't be passing through that intestinal barrier, it becomes compromised and now is passing through here. So toxins, medications, foods that are not broken down to the point that they should be get through here into the bloodstream, which is, of course, where our immune system lies. And the immune system is not happy with that, right? The immune system says, you know, I don't know what that protein is and that gluten, but I don't like it. Maybe it's a bad guy. And now we've got a gluten sensitivity where it sees the protein in that dairy, doesn't like it, it's not sure what it is, labels it a bad guy. And now we've got a dairy sensitivity. Okay, so that can lead to a compromised immune system, things like allergies, asthma, eczema, and if that progresses, can even lead down the pathway of risk for autoimmune disease. When working with autoimmune disease, which we do a lot, I always focus on the gut because it's always connected. So we can look at leaky gut. We can do a test on zonulin. You can measure zonulin in the urine. You can measure it in the stool. You can look at IgG food allergies. This can be done most commonly through blood testing. See what foods your immune system is ticked off at because of that leaky gut. That's helpful. And you can do stool testing, which we talked about earlier, to not only find those harmful organisms that aren't supposed to be in there, but they can also measure zonulin if it's increased in the stool. We're definitely dealing with leaky gut. So those are some things. Leaky gut diet, very similar to a candida diet, cutting out the sugars, the starches, the grains, the processed oils, the seed oils, the nightshades, dairy, of course, junk foods. Repairing leaky gut. These are some great ingredients to help us repair that gut lining, to seal those tight junctions back up again. Things like L-glutamine and bone broth, quercetin and zinc and ginger and curcumin, of course, my favorite ingredient, because in and of itself can really address almost everything that we've talked about tonight. And the gut can be positively impacted by curcumin. And we talk a little bit about the science about that and to show you proof, basically, that what we're talking about. So this article here talks about how curcumin improves the intestinal barrier function. It modulates the intracellular signaling, so it balances and helps the communication between the cells, and it helps organize and heal those tight junctions. This article goes on to say that the major site of action of curcumin is likely the intestinal epithelial cells and the intestinal barrier. And by reducing the intestinal barrier dysfunction, curcumin modulates chronic inflammatory diseases despite poor bioavailability. Remember that term, poor bioavailability. Curcumin and intestinal inflammatory diseases. So intestinal inflammatory diseases would be things like Crohn's disease, celiac disease, ulcerative colitis, things like this. Curcumin can help tame the inflammation involved in intestinal inflammatory diseases, thus improving the intestinal barrier function. In this review, we explore the potential therapeutic properties of curcumin on intestinal inflammatory diseases, including its antimicrobial, right? Those are the bad guys, and immune modulatory properties. Did I say that right? I think so. Those immune modulating properties, as well as its potential to alter the intestinal microbiome in a positive direction. Curcumin may play a significant role in intestinal inflammatory disease treatment in the future. So this one goes on to talk about how the gut microbiota, which we started out talking about, as a prospective therapeutic target for curcumin. And let's move this up a little bit. Sorry, just a second here. Get my mouse to work. The results of these various studies strongly suggest that curcumin may act as promoting factors of growth, proliferation, and survival for beneficial members of the gut microbiota. So it supports the gut microbiota and all of those good guys that we need for optimum health. Curcumin is a promising anti-candidal, and this showed this particular study. They studied 14 different strains of candida, and curcumin displayed antifungal properties against all tested candida strains. That's pretty powerful for a single agent. Anti-candida activity of curcumin, a systematic review. This compound and its derivatives have numerous biological properties, including antioxidant, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and healing effects. The significant antifungal activity is one of the major effects of curcumin. All right, so we've talked about, how curcumin can, first of all, address the gut inflammation, how the curcumin can heal the leaky gut and help to heal those tight junctions, right? To close up those tight junctions, how it can help to have antimicrobial benefits if there's some unfriendly organisms involved, for example, candida, how curcumin could benefit such areas. And in the many other areas that curcumin can interact in those responses. So like the first article talked about is it's despite its poor bioavailability, it could do some of these things, right? And the study after study that you read, it talks about that, and that's been the struggle for decades as we've studied curcumin and its benefits and turmeric and its benefits. We could not get it into the body at significant levels. In fact, they often call that the hidden secret about curcumin and turmeric is it's very poorly bioavailable. We could take lots by mouth and very little ever gets actually into the bloodstream. And we kind of need things with a therapeutic value to get into the bloodstream. Does that make sense? But it does not do a good job, very poor job. Less than 10%, some would argue probably closer to 1% absorbable until now, right? And that's why we're so excited about our BioMS technology. It's changed everything we thought we knew about curcumin and turmeric in the area of bioavailability. And it's what I always say that I had hoped curcumin was, but I just never seen it before this. And studies here, the very first study that I actually read about this technology showing that it was up to 277 times more bioavailable than standard curcumin was. That got my attention. Honestly, I didn't know if I believed that right off the bat, but it got my attention to think, what if, right? If this statement is true, I knew this was going to change a lot of lives. And that's exactly why I took a closer look at Vitify, exactly why I took a closer look at this BioMS technology. So really, it's a combination of technologies. First, because curcumin itself, they call it hydrophobic, hates water, right? Does not mix in water. This is a problem with the body and the bloodstream that's mostly made of water, right? And so they have first applied a nanotechnology, which has shrunk the particle size down incredibly small, less than 30 nanometers. Just for example, a human hair is 100,000 nanometers thick. We're talking about less than 30 nanometer particle size. And then they've wrapped that curcumin particle in a micelle structure. So this micelle structure has completely made this curcumin now water soluble. That's something we've never seen before or had the ability before with a curcumin or a turmeric product to make it water soluble. That's been one of the very limiting factors of its use in human health and disease. Now we can easily get this curcumin particle past the intestinal barrier into the bloodstream throughout our cells, organs, tissues, brain because of this BioMS technology. So just to give you a visual, I love to show, and this is why scientists have been frustrated for years, because even with a 2,000 milligram dose of curcumin, this is the pinnacle of its amount in the bloodstream here at about an hour, right? That's all they could detect of curcumin in the bloodstream. It does not get there, right? And look how long it was in the bloodstream, 2 hours, then it's gone again. Okay. And this is exactly why we've struggled, although we've known amazing benefits of curcumin, we've struggled to see those benefits in human studies and in human health because we can't absorb it. This has all changed with our BioMS technology. We're seeing levels here in the bloodstream we've never seen before. Nothing even close to this have we seen before. But not only that, we're also seeing in the bloodstream, you remember the earlier picture, was maybe 2 hours, right? And then it was gone. This is in the bloodstream from a single 10-drop dose, 8 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. We can still detect curcumin in the bloodstream from a single dose. Again, something we've never seen from curcumin before. That's why they often use the term disruptive. technology. And this is definitely a disruptive technology, because when you take something that we thought we knew all about, we thought we knew really all that curcumin and turmeric could do, and you completely flip it on its head and change that conversation. And that's exactly what the BioMS technology has done, is completely changed the conversation of turmeric and curcumin, and really finally able to realize the benefits that were there this whole time, but we could not tap in and utilize them. And so, of course, I like to show my visual. On the left is traditional curcumin, hydrophobic, hates water. It's not going to mix in water, compared to our BioMS technology on the right, which has solved the bioavailability issue and easily mixes in water, easily gets into our bloodstream, our organs, our cells, our tissues at levels we've never seen before. And so that's why I can't stop talking about it. And that's why I love to share about our different technologies we have within Vitify. So I'm going to pass this back to Dave.
Thank you, Jeremy. Everybody, let's give him, and I've seen in Latin America, they throw up a bunch of ones in the chat. And those are, I think, the equivalent of, I don't know, applause or something. You can clap where you are. You can give him a big hello and how do you do salute. Jeremy, that's awesome. That's great stuff. We're kind of purposely avoiding the issue of showing anybody's questions. And the only reason is because we don't have the time. We're trying to keep these calls under 35, 40 minutes, kind of the top end, because there's so much information to share. But in that 35 to 40 minutes, we get a lot of great information. We record these and then post them. Sorry, back to the primary issue, your questions. If you have questions, send an email to wellnessteam@vitify.co. There's a very good chance you'll get a direct response. That's also amazing. They very often can answer quickly if the question is straightforward enough. They have the information, they can respond directly. But also, we catalog those questions, and that helps us inform what we're going to talk about on a future wellness team call. So again, your questions, ingredients, formulation, BioMS, what is a nanometer? What is I won't try and recall the things that Dr. Thornton just said, because not only will I mispronounce them, they're likely to be PG-13 versions, and I don't want that on my resume. So send an email to wellnessteam@vitify.co. And then another thing to follow up on these calls, this is the address for our YouTube channel. So rather than have you memorize or look for something on YouTube, if you type in to your URL field, vitifyvideos.com, it will take you directly to the Vitify YouTube channel. And there you should see the whole catalog, the whole collection, library of videos. The wellness team call, this one, every second and fourth Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. This one we're on tonight. Also the bounce call, which is the first Monday of each month, and also the midway calls, which is the 15th of each month, unless it happens on a weekend, and then it's the following Monday. But vitifyvideos.com will get you all of these cataloged and libraried and recorded and safeguarded for posterity. So again, wellnessteam@vitify.co. We got a big thank you all over to Dr. J. We thank you for being here at 7:34. We've done great, packed information into this 35-minute presentation. So again, everybody give Jeremy a big wave. Thanks, Dr. Jeremy. Thanks to your family for giving us your evening time. It's already 8:30 p.m. in the great state of Missouri, but that is awesome. So thank you. I'm going to quickly answer Janice's question. Yes, we can take it in divided doses throughout the day, but you probably shouldn't exceed 30 drops per day. Dr. J, give me a thumbs up if I'm right. We're right. All right, everybody. Thanks again. We appreciate your time and your attention for being with us. We invite you to join us next time. We will be joining you. We'll be on Monday, the 4th of November. That's for the bounce call. That's just to start our month off right. The first Monday in November is the 4th of November. There will be a time change in the United States. We move out of daylight saving time. We move into what we call standard time, but we'll post that information on the comment section of every promotion that we do, so that we know we're going in the right place. So again, Monday, the 4th of November, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And again, we'll have that information in the emails and everything else supporting those events. One more time, thanks to Dr. Jeremy. Thanks to you, everybody, for taking time out to be with us, for taking your moments, whatever that is, if you took a half hour out of work or out of your sleep time, because I know it's the middle of the morning in Europe. You're just probably mid-morning in Australia and New Zealand. So again, we thank you sincerely for spending some time with us, and high fives and hugs all around, everybody. Have a great night, great day, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye.